Meet Adam. Adam, to protect the innocents, we've changed his name and blurred out his photo, but he is a real cosmetologist, and Adam's been in the industry for about 20 years. And Adam recently called us with a problem, and his problem, as he saw it, was he was being underpaid. And as a result, he was considering a few options. One was to go solo, two was to leave the industry altogether, or three was to ask his boss for a raise. None of those sounded like great options, right? So naturally, the first question we asked Adam was, well, Adam, how much money are you making? Adam couldn't exactly tell us how much money he was making. And so as we helped Adam do the math, we realized, along with Adam, that Adam was making $147,000 a year as a cosmetologist, okay? That puts Adam in the top 8% of all earners in the United States. Now, Adam's story is one of the many stories we hear from cosmetologists who underestimate or just don't understand their compensation. And it really illustrates two elephants in the room that we believe to be critical to the sustainability and success of the professional beauty industry. One is a lack of data, and two is a lack of financial literacy. Now, this lack of data and this lack of financial literacy really helped us to embark on a research initiative that really sought to answer a simple question. What do earnings look like for a career in professional beauty? Okay? When you look at the data is not super compelling. $16,000, right? That's from the Century Foundation of the average earnings for a cosmetologist in the United States. Does anyone agree with this? No. Well, if you also look at another verifiable source, the U.S. Department of, or the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, it's $17.30 an hour. Also not very compelling. So the negativity around the narrative of career in beauty is very, very pervasive. And the common story is that cosmetology is a low-tier profession with correspondingly low earnings, okay? So why does this matter for leaders? Well, one of the most pressing challenges that leaders are facing is obviously recruiting and attracting talent, right? If I go online and I'm a prospective career professional looking to enter the career professional beauty, $16,000 a year is not super compelling, right? For those of you who are cosmetologists, maybe you've been a victim of being underestimated for choosing this career path, or maybe you've experienced shame around choosing this career path. Well, that needs to change, and our work at Qnity for the past 10 plus years has been providing high quality education and tools to help create greater economic empowerment and financial wellness for members of the professional beauty and wellness industry. And I'm here with you today to share the findings from what is now known as a research collaborative called the Pro Beauty Compensation Study. And just as a forewarning, I talk very fast, and I have to talk even faster today due to time, and I have to get through a 90-page report in about 7 minutes. So we're gonna go fast and furious, but this report will be made available for you. So if you can't take pictures, don't worry, I promise you can grab it, okay? So about this initiative was really sought to help the Adams of the world better understand their compensation, and people like Adams employers better communicate the reality of the compensation to their staff to help attract talent and retain talent. And so we kicked off this research study with a group of employee-based salons, okay? And our focus was on getting earnings data that was as verifiable as possible. For that reason, we started with employees working as W-2 employees in locally owned and operated salons and spas across 330 locations, okay? So we took the W-2 earnings of just under 3,400 cosmetologists working within those salons. These businesses represented $184 million in total payroll compensation. There was a wide variety of price points and geographical diversity represented in this study, as well as different product brands that these businesses carried, as well as compensation structures. I am simply here as your spokeswoman. We have an amazing data team that has really made this data project their full-time job, including Tom Kuhn, who's our CEO, and then we also aligned with a CPA firm, Lightheart Sanders, as well as others to make this data possible, including Stern Neal. We assembled a think tank to help expose any methodologies, errors, or potential biases. And of course, this research would not be possible without sponsors who stepped up. Research is very, very expensive, and all these brands stepped up to make this possible. And then, of course, thank you to Neil, who has always been a huge advocate for this industry, so much so that Edwin even donated this spot because he felt this was so important to share with you. So thank you. All right, we're going to fly through these findings very quickly. Quick disclaimer, anytime you show research, it's very important to give a disclaimer. All the names of these employees were kept anonymous. This was taken from verifiable W-2 data. And please note, this is market research. It is one point of reference, and it's part of a longer-term data effort to get better clarity on earnings in ProBeauty. All right, here's earnings. We found average earnings of $54,000, a little over $54,000 a year, and this was for cosmetologists that worked on average under 28 hours a week, okay? If this was factored to a full-time work week, this would be closer to $80,000, okay? Not a bad average. Now, here's another thing I want to show you. 24% of these participants had an hourly rate in excess of $48 an hour, which would equal over $100,000 a year. 1/4 of participants. That's amazing. Earnings, we found an hourly average rate double of what the US Bureau of Labor Statistics found. Elephant in the room, many of you might be thinking, well, how did you deal with tips? Bottom line, this was not a tip audit. If it was on the W-2, it was counted as income. And we found these employers had a very high rate of tip compliance. If you're curious about that methodology, again, this report is going to be made published, so you can read all about that in the report, okay? Next is around flexibility. A huge benefit of a career in professional beauty is the flexibility it entails or offers. Average hours worked per week for cosmetologists was under 28 hours a week, and 99% of these salon employers offered some or total flexibility with scheduling. This is compared just to 54% of employers that offered scheduling flexibility in other industries. Benefits. A common narrative is that salons don't offer benefits or hairdressers are not equipped to retire. We found a very different narrative, with 96% of employers offering benefits and 93% of these employers actually contributing to the cost of these benefits. Training, very robust training. 90% of these salons offered new hire training and ongoing education. Inclusion. 85% of these businesses included at least one female owner, which is amazing. And we found yes, I love it. And we found very high diversity across other ownership demographics, which we go into detail in the report. Possibilities. We're hiring as an industry, no surprise, right? But in comparison to other sectors of other industries that are facing mass layoffs, this industry is hiring. So huge level of job security with 94% of businesses hiring. 74% of these business owners, or of these owners, actually started their business. And 76% of these owners were cosmetology school graduates, suggesting that a cosmetology license and an experience in cosmetology school can spur entrepreneurship in this space, which is amazing. Next is ROI. There was a much faster rate of repayment and significantly less student debt compared to other industries. And then an intangible metric, which is around passion. Not only did we find that this career offers great possibility in terms of earnings, but there's the other less tangible metrics. The opportunity to do a career that you love and also experience a great quality of life with flexibility enabled by the vast majority of employers. So you can get the final report if you want to stop by our booth. We've got a huge infographic that breaks this down for you. And then lastly, I want you to really reflect as I wrap this up as far as where do we go next with all this data. On a macro level, we're working in terms of advocacy to bring this data to outside industries beyond just communicating this with you, but what can you do in your business? Now, what I've given you is a simple framework. So employers, I want you to think about when you're trying to educate your staff on compensation, compensation is not just about monetary earnings. What are you doing for benefits? What type of training do you offer? What is the earnings capability within your business? And then also for cosmetologists, as you start to really evaluate your career, recognize that compensation is not just your paycheck. It's so much more that this career brings to the table. And so please scan this QR code for 3 other options as far as how to get involved. Number 1, for all the businesses that participate in this research study, thank you so much. And please, for all you employers, consider participating in future studies. We're going to continue to bring more research and add additional segments. 2 is to make this data actionable in your business. Stop by our booth. We'll help give you this framework so you can bring it to life in your business. And then 3 is to bring financial literacy to your team. So if you enter your details in the QR code, we can help you with all of that. And then Watch out for the final report, which will be published next week. And in closing, what happened to Adam? Anyone wondering? He stayed. Spoiler alert, Adam had a light bulb moment. Fortunately, before he made a decision that would affect him, his family, and his career, he got access to information. Number one, he got access to actionable data. He recognized, wow, he was in the top 8% of all US earners and well above the data that we found as far as average earnings for a cosmetologist. Next, he also got financial literacy, recognizing he was not being underpaid. It wasn't a money in problem, rather it was a bit of a money out problem. So he started to address his financial decision. It's these two components, actionable data plus financial literacy, that we believe will lead to greater economic empowerment for the Adams of the world, for Adams employers, and for the professional beauty industry. Thank you.